All right, welcome to Pass the Mic. It is Friday, June 7th, 2024, episode 118, graduation day. We are on Zoom. Mike Gervasi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Waiting till last minute again. Actually, not last minute. It's early in the afternoon on Thursday. We got feedback and errors from last week. Last week we did the episode where we talked about success, definitions of success, and we finally got the overrated, underrated baseball. Surprised, not as much feedback from Coach Sikora and Coach Bailey as we
No, not at
thought.
all.
I mean, I thought that was what they live for.
Yeah, maybe they're
Maybe
realized.
they fell asleep during some of these Tiger games, and oh wait, they're not on TV.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
They're
Maybe
listening on the
listen.
radio.
Dan Dickerson's fun to listen to, though. So.
Yeah. But speaking of Mr. Bailey, Gary Bailey had some. He commented just recently about that. I didn't comment on the Pirates pitcher Paul Skeens, big phenom. Okay, and by the way, Nate and I missed the. I'm going to talk about this in my hot mic a little. Oh no, I'm going to talk about it right now. I guess I was supposed to not see him pitch. But he ended up pitching the second game of the doubleheader, which I didn't get to see.
He's a good Pirate pitcher. Like
he's
good.
He's pretty good. So eventually he'll be a Yankee. So that's what I commented on our Facebook page. How many years until he's a Yankee?
Yeah.
He last night against the Dodgers, the Dodgers that have like the 200 or whatever crazy payroll. He did pretty well last night. And the Pirates have already taken 2 of the first 3 from the Dodgers.
Wow.
I think I saw a tweet today that they're the only team in the NL with a winning record over the Dodgers over the last couple of years, which is crazy.
You don't need a lot of money to win in baseball, then.
I guess when you have these guys, I don't know. I hope they're able to keep him. So I acknowledge this pitcher. He's amazing. I really wish I was able to see him pitch. And but speaking of that, back to the thing. Remember I talked about my hot mic last week. Since this is reflecting on last week, Nate showed me he got the credit on the SeatGeek app for the money he spent on the tickets.
Oh, he did. Awesome.
So all things worked out. So
yeah.
The Ren Dog also. Oh, you had some things about Gary because he mentioned on your topic.
Yeah, Bill Walton. We got a lot of discussion on him. Bill Walton, one of the 3 best college players of his era. He mentions Kareem, Pete Maravich, and Bill Walton. So Gary Bailey gave a shout out there.
All right. The Ren Dog also, he was very happy to hear your take on the NBA and TNT. He was very he agreed 100% with us on our baseball takes, I believe, so that was good to hear from him. He always has some good input. Joe Burguy with a nice long text.
Yeah, very thoughtful.
One of and again, very one of the most important things she taught her kids, and I think this is very true when you interact with. I haven't had a lot of interactions with the daughter, but I've interacted with both boys. Being respectful and kind is, as far as being a model of success. And again, that's something anybody can do or anybody can achieve. And they've done a great job with that. And that's something I always strive for as a parent above anything else. You can bomb a quiz, you can bomb a test, but you are always going to be kind and respectful. She also said underrated for baseball or baseball locker rooms, mentioned some Bowling Green lockers. I guess a clubhouse, right? Like if we want to get.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want Sikora and Bailey jumping down our throats. I mean, this was her term.
We got to get the semantics correct.
Why it's a clubhouse, I don't know. It is basically a locker room. I mean, I've done a tour of the Lions, locker room, and it's very similar to what I see when I see on footage of the Tigers clubhouse.
It's not the Lions clubhouse.
No, it is not. I don't.
What about the Carlson basketball locker room? Is that the Carlson basketball clubhouse?
I don't know. Maybe the baseball elite can inform us. I'm sure they will.
I'm sure they will. We're going to hear all about this. We're going to get
and why it's so nostalgic and why it's so important to the game and whatnot.
Yeah. Antoine was really happy to hear the mention of Steve Snapper Jones.
That's a great name. Yeah.
Yeah. Great, man. He was awesome. With Bill Walton. Wasn't thrilled with Bill Walton. This caused a little controversy with us. Bill Walton had some criticisms of the Fab Five, the Michigan Fab Five. And, there was a semantical debate, which I'm not going to get into on here. It's more of a family friendly show. We don't want to get into controversies, but in retrospect, I am not a fan of the Fab Five in any way. I think overhyped is the right word for them. So with regard to that aspect of Bill Walton's criticism, I'm with him now. I think Chris Webber is a super smart individual that's very talented at anything he does, but I'm not a fan. and the damage they caused University of Michigan, whether it was right or wrong, and obviously college basketball and college football, they've changed the rules, but to me that I don't look at them with nostalgia at all. I think it was a cool recruiting class and it was a cool story. I dig the hip hop aspect of them because 90s hip hop and me and basketball, those things kind of go together, but they didn't win. And that's kind of all there is to it there. Deontay with a nice, I agree with both of your takes on success. It's what you intended on accomplishing. I think Tony Saavedra, NBA on TNT. He was skeptical of Shaq, as was I. So I'm gonna agree with that, but it just works. It just
Yep.
works. Again, I hope this is
And the news officially broke that they are not getting it was the worst kept secret in the world.
Yeah,
that they did not renew the contract. Crystal Fowler, who's famous for getting last minute feedback in, she
Yes.
did it once before in the previous. We had a fire drill today during 6th hour, and she was able to get feedback into both of us as we walk in. Piggybacking on our conversation about success, you want to basically summarize what she said, this is last minute. We weren't able to put this into show notes or anything. But
Yeah, and I told her I had a philosophy class and we discussed this concept before, objective reality and how people view it. But the gist of what she said was because the standards of success are different with each individual, there's no really true standard, and because there's no objective truth on this, and it's totally individualized to each person. I think that's a fair assessment. I would totally agree, but it was a pretty deep, and she gave us a quote. I really wish she would have texted it. Maybe she
I should
wrote
have
it
had my
down.
audio. I need to bring that little audio recorder I have
Yeah,
to fire drills
right.
now.
And so I'm sure she will text us. The problem with she usually, I think she gets caught up on our shows,
Yeah,
so she
that's
might.
why we get the input the day we record.
Yeah, we might not get this until later, but I would love the quote. So it was a really good
Yeah,
one.
it sort of goes in. I think I mentioned it last week with the mile runner. And this is very simplistic. Okay, someone with a worse time may still experience this success because it was it was something that they achieved, whereas someone with a better time that didn't hit something they wanted doesn't experience success.
Yeah,
It's all unique to each
right,
individual
right.
person. You know what I mean? It all relates to that. So, but no, great feedback there. My mic of the week, a little foreshadowing for our overrated, underrated. My
Okay.
mic of the week. Have you ever heard of Dr. Michael? I think it's Baden. It might be Baden.
I
Do you
have
know what I'm
not.
talking about?
No,
You might remember he had a show on HBO called Autopsy. I'm sure you never watched it. He
no.
was he'd go,
It's
yeah.
a hard
But
no.
he testifies. He's like the celebrity, basically forensic pathologist. So he gets called in on all these cases, sort of like a second set of eyes. He testified in the O.J. Simpson trial. He's done like background checks of both MLK's assassination, JFK Jr.'s assassination. He's basically like a celebrity
Wait.
pathologist.
JFK. Oh, JFK Jr. wasn't assassinated.
I said JFK
Oh, I thought you said
assassination.
Jr. Okay.
No, yep. So he gets called in, and he sometimes it's controversial because he's sort of celebrity-ish. I don't know what his most. He's alive. He's 89, and he turns 90 July 27th. So according to my data, he's still alive. I don't know how much he's doing, but he testified in the O.J. Simpson trial on August 10th and 11th of 95. Made two claims that he later disowned about the murders themselves. So that is my Mike of the week, Dr. Michael Baden. I'm not sure. I don't want to. I remember Autopsy was on. It was like a show where he'd look at these crimes and sort of either disprove what the prosecution said or help confirm what the prosecution said.
Excellent. Good
You know
one,
what the
and
best?
well done for the week too.
I
Perfect.
think if you're a pathologist, you don't even have to have malpractice insurance, right? Because I'm not sure what to ask an
Well,
insurance
that's a good
agent.
question. That's a very good question.
I'd have to ask. I'm not sure about that. So, all right, education topic. We're getting into these things. I sort of like these ideas of like, we did the draft, we did the school supply draft. Every once in a while, an episode comes up, and I think we take the topic and we alter it and keep doing it. We do it for each year, and I think we don't do a. I think we do sort of like we do advice to graduating seniors. We've done this a couple times. We did it,
Yeah.
and I think things change. The climate changes, the job market changes, education changes. So I want to do that again. This time, class of 24. We're having a great class. Walk across the stage today. If you're listening to this, they graduate on Friday, June 7th. The weather looks like it's going to cooperate outside of Marauder Stadium. What advice do you have for the class of 24 as they head out of Carlson High School?
Okay, so I have learned recently some of the things that university, and this is not just directed toward university kids, some of the things universities offer, and it's not what we had before.
No.
For instance, like I just learned that they offer every student 8 unpaid uh like therapy visits. Um and this is something to keep up with the time. You got a book for Teacher Appreciation Week,
Yeah.
about generations. One of the things that this generation is going to change on their employers is kind of forcing, what type of mental health you offer. And so it just got me to thinking, and that's just one of many, many things that, this is, you know, all the services that are offered at universities. So I'm going to apply that to every individual that is graduating, and it's stuff we've talked about. Use everything you possibly can. Immerse yourself in whatever culture you get involved in, whether it's a workplace, whether it's a military, whether whatever you do, you will be so much better for it. You will find like-minded people wherever you go. So use every service available to you. It'll make the experience that much better.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to ask or
Yeah.
seek help. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, when we went to school, it was like, "Oh, there's a rec center." We were like,
Right.
"Yeah, this is the"
Right.
like, it was that
Go
was,
see it if you want. Yeah. And yeah.
yeah, there's some intramural basketball leagues, like, but I mean, yeah, like, take advantage of and I think we've mentioned this sort of before, find out your academic advisor,
Yeah.
if you're going into the trades or the military, seek out a mentor of some sort. There's no problem in seeking out help, and also, know your situation, um, you know, thankfully also for us, like, health insurance laws changed that you're covered until you're
Yeah.
26 if your parents have insurance. Like, that's a big benefit that we didn't have, and we were in college, you were, but the minute you graduated, you were off. So that's a great one. I have a few, so mine are like bullet points. I've done other, like, I think like last year I did this. I did a lot of like knowing your campus. I'm gonna say, first of all, hone up on your social skills. I think that we've talked about this before. The students that are going to go the furthest in whatever field, work, military, trades, university, um, it's not necessarily 4.0s or the people that are expert in these fields. It's the people that are going to have the social skills to interact with the general public, their bosses, uh, conflict resolution with, because everything's not always going to be perfect. So,
Right.
and it's not easy. I'll acknowledge that. You sometimes, me, Mike. I say by the time you're 17, 18, you either have it or you don't. It's not something that develops usually later in life. You either have it at this point or you don't. Not saying you can't. Try to lower your screen time. I mean, I'm not here. I am. I'm the pot calling the kettle black in a way. Try to lower your screen time. Get out there and read some books. Go outside, experience stuff. And that goes along with any opportunity to travel anywhere, especially cheaply. If someone offers you up a weekend away or something, take it now,
Yeah.
because as you get older, your commitments only grow stronger and stronger, and you have a harder time to experience those things. And you're never going to be able to experience anything. It's just there's too much. And I think this year being 2024, I think this is important. They had the paperwork out at senior breakfast. Register to vote. Big election coming up, and with that, don't vote for who your mom or dad says to vote for. Don't vote for who has been in your mind shoved down your throat. Take some time. It's only June. Watch the debates in the summer. Look up. Both of these people have served the term before, right? So you can go.
Mike, what I would say to that is, putting aside who's running, this is where I think people are just talking to people at school. I think a lot of people are disenchanted with the candidates. There are so many other things to vote for. So registering to vote is super important. And the other part of it is there are a myriad of other things to vote for. So I think that's great advice.
Yeah, if you don't want to, even if you want to sit out the presidential
Yeah,
election, you do not have to fill out a complete ballot. We're electing a senator from the state, and
yeah.
I've told you this before. My thoughts: those 100 U.S. senators hold way more power, I think, day to day in the operation of the country than the president really does.
The
I mean,
president has become, in a lot of ways, my team versus yours, and it becomes almost a game in the culture war battle. We obviously we're on the same page and we think the same about this election, but there are so many other things, and it really has become a Facebook war more than,
yeah,
I say Facebook
a,
because
got you. Everything's got you.
got
Got
you.
you. I saw today today was the 80th anniversary of D-Day, and there's a video clip of him they get there, they start, and he goes to like he wants to sit down, like he's and so the full clip is he squats for a second or two, and then eventually it's the point where they can sit down and he sits down like somebody who's 80 years old. When I'm 80 years old, I'd probably want to that would probably how I'd be at an event too, standing for as shortly as I could. But all these clips on right-wing sites are he can't he doesn't even know that he doesn't have a chair behind. They're making it out like he thinks he doesn't have a chair behind him. So it's just very weird. And like when you
Mm.
see the full clip, it's just a guy that's sort of squatting, waiting to sit, and then he ends up sitting. Like I can't believe this is what we've come to, and like people are celebrating it like it's the team winning the Super Bowl. Like, okay, like I don't get it. So
Yeah.
those are mine. Enjoy all this too. Enjoy. We've talked about this before. The ceremony tomorrow. It looks like it's going to be a nice day, not
Mhm.
super hot, which is nice. Enjoy the day. Get pictures with friends. I can't. You know, high school. It's not the be all end all. And I've said, graduating high, but I know there's this element of like I want to get out of here. There's a weird breakup, right, of kids. Like we have about 265 kids graduating, right? And there's kids that have very great experience through 4 years, and they're going to be the ones that are a little sad, crying, enjoying every moment, taking pictures. Then you have the block of people that like
Right.
high
Take
school is
pictures.
done. I want to get out of there. But even if that's you, take a few minutes. Find a friend or two that you took that you had fun with. There had to have been a good day over the 4 years. I hope. Take
Yeah.
a picture, enjoy that. Take some pictures with your family. Enjoy those moments with your family. Be thankful for the people that can make it there. So celebrate a little bit tomorrow. Enjoy that. It is, even though I say it's in this house, it's not it's an expectation, but it doesn't mean you can't celebrate a little bit.
Right. Right. Okay.
Good.
Yep.
All right. My overrated, underrated this week, and my Mike of the week sort of hinted at it. We are going to go overrated, underrated doctors. Doctors, any type of doctor. You familiar with doctors?
I'm familiar with doctors. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Okay. Well, all right. What do you got is overrated?
Okay. So not surprising, my overrated, underrated are going to be sort of me playing the middle ground on something. My overrated is going to be the title, and not necessarily the title itself, which I have a great deal of respect for. Preview of underrated, but what you call people who are of the title who you knew before. We have a doctor on our staff, Dr. Rice,
Hmm.
and it's pretty weird. He seems to prefer that, and I just like he's a friend. And so do we call him by his first name? Do we call him doctor? I feel kind of funny calling him doctor, and so it really becomes just an awkward moment every time it happens, and it really shouldn't be. And to his credit, and we take little pokes at him all the time on here, he really hasn't made it an issue.
No, and
So
he's good about the jokes too.
he is. I just don't know if, out of respect, I'm supposed to call him that or not. I don't know if he cares. Like it's just a weird dynamic, and so that's my overrate. Just the awkwardness of the title.
And by the way, a well-earned title. I mean, that's a lot. I could never do
Oh,
it. I
for
was done
sure.
with school. I'm not. I mean, I'm at two masters, and that was enough for me. And there'd be no way I'd want to do all that original work of a dissertation, which is what comes in. Mine is sort of along the same line. So over my undergrad and two graduate degrees, and you have an undergrad, and do you have one or two graduate degrees?
One graduate degree.
One. Okay. Amongst all those years, I had one college instructor that told us, like, syllabus day, famous syllabus day, handing out the syllabus. And usually most people that don't have an issue with it don't even say anything about it, right? There's never like a
Right.
99% of my classes just hand out the syllabus, and I would then go up to people and I'd be like, I usually would always start with professor. That would
Professors.
be what I would do.
Mhm.
We talked about Professor Henning. I'd always say Professor Henning. Once in a while, I'd have somebody who would say, "Oh, just call me Mike," or just call me, their
Sure.
first name.
Yeah.
And then from that point on, I would call them that. One instructor from syllabus day on made it clear that he wanted to go by doctor and then his first name. And it had to be like, if you did not do this, he would not address you. And
What
so
what
that is
type
my
of
over.
what type of class did he have? Was
It
that
was a it was a graduate. It was my first graduate degree in ed leadership. So it was an ed leadership degree, like an administrative degree. And this guy was like a superintendent. He actually was a chairperson of a charter school board. And we'll just leave that at that. And shocking that he wanted this. And he's also, I think I've told stories about it. I would come from coaching meet, and I came in with he took me out the hallway and told me I shouldn't wear my hat into class.
Oh God. Wow.
Yeah. So it went right along with, and it was my only non-A in that
Really?
master's. Yeah. And I
Sounds
worked,
like a
man. I
fun
wrote,
class. Yeah.
oh, it was great. Right
Yeah.
after coaching a track meet, it was a blast. It was good time. So that's my overrated. Again, well, I respect it at all. I mean, I could not do it, but I mean, like, dude, come on, like you. I mean, so that was so a whole undergrad at Eastern, a whole master's at Eastern, and a whole master's at Wayne State, and I've had many of those instructors were PhDs or ed
Yeah.
doctorates. One
One.
that said, yeah. All right, underrated. What do you got?
I'm going back to the title. I think the title is, you mentioned the work they put in. We are in a climate where anti-intellectualism seems to be, if not a virtue, it seems to be at least somewhat respected right now. And I feel like when I'm talking history with people, I know a little bit, and I could not imagine challenging people who have devoted their livelihoods, and this is doctors in all fields, who've devoted their livelihoods, who've devoted their entire lives to something, and me, because I did a Google search once, challenging them
Oh,
on
TikTok.
years of research, whether it's in the medical field or in the social sciences, whatever. It is just infuriating to me. So my underrated is the same thing as over. It's the title. I cannot. I don't know how we got here. Uh, I don't know when this happened, but it really is. I hope we look back on this time 10, 15, 20 years from now and say, man, I'm glad that's a thing of the past, because it's really bizarre to me.
Yeah, I don't the anti-intellectualism, I don't feel like most of these people look down on people. They just try to get information out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
All right, I have actually a physical doctor that I looked up because I told you about this. I was gonna I
Yeah, this is awesome.
this procedure is amazing to me, and shout out the Ren Dog. The doctor I'm giving is Dr. Reni Favaloro. Okay, I may be botching that. He is an Argentine cardiac surgeon. Okay, born in 1923, died in 2000, lived a pretty good life. But he basically is best known for pioneering bypass heart surgery, which again, these kind of operations are just amazing to me. Like, who
Yeah,
sat there one day and thought, okay, the human heart, people have heart attacks, heart cardiovascular disease, the arteries get blocked. How can we
you're
solve this
grossing me out,
problem?
man.
I'm not gonna the details. I don't want Mike to pass out. So basically, he figured this out and figured out a way. And my dad had this procedure done, probably added years to his life. Many people have this done. It's a hell of a surgery too. It beats the shit out of you, man. It
Sure.
beats the
Oh,
crap out of you.
whoa, family. You don't.
Yeah.
We don't
So
even have the beeper here either.
no, we don't have to have it like family friendly.
Woo.
It's a tough surgery. They crack your ribs. It's but he's a very interesting guy, Ren Dog. Again, Argentina. He was like obviously a hero down there. He ended up creating this huge nonprofit, a foundation. But then when like economics and things went bad there, he ended up it ended up going in the red, like going bankrupt or broke. And sadly, he killed himself. That was his death. He shot himself in the
Mhm.
chest because the stress and the debt to the foundation that happened with a lot of lawsuits and stuff. But again, just an amazing doctor that, and he was born, like I said, in Buenos Aires, or no, La Plata, Argentina, but his parents were 100% Sicilian. So I'm not sure, or his grandparents were 100% Sicilian. So a little Italian there for you.
Yeah, and there's a there is a large Italian population in Argentina, for years and years and years. And I used to argue with people all the time that Manu Ginobili, though he was Argentine, famous basketball player, though he's Argentinian, his roots are actually in Italy.
Okay, so we get
Other
so
than what?
that's a normal
Yeah, it makes sense. Yes,
okay, so yeah, yeah, it looks like a pretty cool story. I won't get into the details. Everyone knows pretty much what bypass is, but it bypasses the blocked artery, and he used
sure,
another artery to do that. And so shout out, again, I can't the stuff that these doctors can do nowadays, both with the heart and the brain, like they enter in through like it's amazing to me. I couldn't imagine it, and like
right.
I you know those people need to be commended with the now. I mean, I'm scared to death. Like, if a kid gets hurt at track and I have to like wrap up
Right,
their ankle or something.
right,
No,
right.
these guys are doing all this stuff. So, all right. hot mic take. What do you got as we head into our last week of work?
So I've debated internally because something happened today. I'm going to save my Michael Jordan rant for another time based upon what happened at the end of the day today. And I'm going to give a little PSA right now for people who are not divorced when they speak to divorced people. All
Okay.
right. So most or a lot of divorces right now, mine included, is 50-50. And
The
I
kids
think that with the
or
kids,
everything.
well, everything,
Okay.
but I mean with the
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
And I think when people, as my kids are getting older now, I've, one in 10th and one in 7th, a lot of times I'll be asked to do things. And this is, for anybody listening, this has come up recently multiple times. So I promise you, it's not just one person. The people always tell me your kids are getting older now, you can leave them. I think what people don't understand, because they're not in the situation, and this is again a PSA, we're educating and we're giving public service announcements here.
Yes.
um I only get them 50% of the time. So while I would like to go hang out and stuff like that, I do have obligations and sometimes I have to do things, but I prefer not, as most people I know who are in this position prefers not to leave their kids, because you have the other 50% of the time to do a lot of those things. Again, life comes up and things come up sometimes, but nevertheless, the idea that I'm just like, because my kids are a little bit older, I can go out and do whatever I want, just because they're getting it's just not true. So I'm talking now to the people that and even people that may not be, maybe married, but without kids or whatever, or people that are just adults. This is a lot of times why folks who are married or divorced, excuse me, that have the kids those weeks will say no to certain things. It's because you don't have them very much, and you want to make sure you're not planning things like fun nights when you have your kids. So that's my PSA and my hot mic topic of the week.
It goes back a few weeks ago. We talked about respecting people's time. I mean, I used you as an example of saying, if ask once, and if they say no, they say no.
Right.
Like, I don't know what whether or not they're divorced, married, whatever. Chloe's coming home in July for 1 month. Okay, 1 month, and then she's back to Ann Arbor. I probably won't be going out a lot in July, like, because I only get to see her for 1 month, and
Right.
then she's gone. And then next year her lease is all year. So, and I think, but I get what you're saying, because I know I've been guilty of this before in the past too. Oh, come on, just come on out.
Right.
Like, it's very easy to, like, and so that's why I said back in that time episode, I'll ask once, and that's it. If we're to the age now where if someone says no, you don't need to peer pressure anybody.
Sure.
Just say no. All
Yeah.
right. My hot mic take. I want to give a big shout out to the Fords, the train station, big concerts going on tonight, right? Like the grand opening. Have you? I sent you the slideshow. The Detroit
Sure.
News did a great photo slideshow of the history. I didn't realize 3 presidents embarked on journeys and disembarked from trains at the train station downtown. What they did with that building, I mean, I've been seeing it from the outside for a couple of years. I've mentioned it before how beautiful it is, and now to see the pictures of what they did with the inside of that building is amazing. It's amazing. And Kyle Wallaver, we talked about this. We're a country that often we love ripping and tearing stuff down, unlike Europe that celebrates.
Right.
And I'm so glad that and this just goes on and continues on with the history of the good run Detroit is on. The That building is beautiful and what they did inside, and I hope it's a success. I hope this concert's a success, and I think it's going to. The Fords deserve a lot of credit, man. The auto industry is never the auto industry is not a sure thing. We know this, right? We've gone through struggles, and
Yeah. Right.
right now, even right now, it's a struggle. And they put a lot of money, man, a lot of money that could have been just profit for the shareholders or profit. They put a lot of money into that building, and I'm sure there were grants and stuff, but they still did it.
Yeah. Oh,
They
and
did
they could
not
have,
have to.
no, they could have built parking lots. They could have,
Yeah, so well, that is funny, and I'm going to give Ford credit. There's a story. Now, it was behind a paywall. I didn't read it. It wasn't enough for me to pay for it because it is the Detroit News. But Ford did a story about how there was talk of building a parking garage in that area, and he nixed it. And I love how this is a whole story, because I sort of think it's a shot at another wealthy
mm,
family in the city that loves parking lots
yeah.
and has them all over. Big story today about that family. They're putting in some high price seating behind a home plate, like club seating,
Oh
if we
man.
know the family. Yeah. So big shout out. I would eventually love to get down there and check out the inside, because I'm a little bit of a dork, but a bucket list item for me is a cross country train trip. And even though trains aren't running out of there, just the history. I mean, if you look at old
Sure.
Union stations,
Yeah.
Union Station in Chicago, Union Station in New York City, Penn Station. They were, I mean, you talk about an era when, man, they put a lot of time and money into those because that was it. That was
Yeah, right,
that was the
right.
hub of your city.
Yeah.
And they took advantage of it. So, all right, NBA Finals. In your, I know in your heart who you want to win.
Yeah, and I don't like them either, but in my
Oh,
heart,
I don't. I think there's a clear cut. I don't like them either. But I mean, if you 100 out of 100 times, I want Dallas to win.
yeah, and I'm not a Dallas fan, but I think Boston wins in 6, sadly.
Oh man, I was worried because I don't know it as well. I don't know much about. I haven't been following Dallas and the NBA as you. So you think this is a sure thing?
Boston had a road to the finals that was arguably one of the easiest roads, and really is from what as long as I can remember. The East is pretty, and with all the injuries, the East was pretty easy, and they are immensely talented. They really have 5 awesome starters. They lost their center and really did hardly miss a beat, plugging an old guy who I argue with my friends about Al Horford. I think he's had a great career, but he's really old, and he played great because you plug anybody in that lineup, they're going to be good. And so I just think it's going to be. I hope Dallas wins because I'm sick of Boston and the whole lovable loser thing with the Red Sox. I'm ashamed of myself for cheering for them 20 plus years ago, but they're going to win. So yeah, Boston at 6.
Oh man, that's tough to hear. So,
Yeah.
all right, well, that's really it. Tigers are on a little bit of a hot streak. I saw the Pirates are 1 game out of a wild card race, but everyone makes
Tigers
them wild
are
card.
2.5. Man,
Oh, look at that! We're back. A week ago, we were burying them.
Well, I mean,
now,
the division, it's really amazing. They're in 4th place and they're 2.5 out of the wild card. So.
Yeah, and the Pirates I saw were 1 game back. If they struggled, they blew some games in Toronto, they'd be in right now. So we'll have to see. Maybe the second half of the year we'll be watching baseball. Who knows?
Maybe World
Well,
Series, Tigers, Pirates.
listening to the radio, I mean, because we can't watch it here. But I did get like an $8 bill credit from Xfinity, so I don't know. Maybe I'm probably a little happier about that, to be honest with you.
True.
All right, well, hey, congratulations to the class of 2024 on
Yep.
graduation today. I also want to give a shout out to Mr. Burgess. Did a great job today. Today on Thursday, the anniversary of D-Day, brought in all of his World War II stuff. I put some pictures on the Carlson High School Library Instagram. He brought all that stuff in, was going to stay after to bring it back out. Really cool. The kids really like it.
And I think this was a coincidence that it was D-Day, the anniversary.
Oh, really?
I think it was. We talked last week about what day. Maybe not, but I didn't even consider the date. And so I think it was.
And all politics aside, there's a lot of cool stuff going on out there. A lot of celebrities are out there along with world leaders. I saw this thing on Twitter. The Ukrainian president was interacting with a World War II veteran. He's hugging him, and the veteran was thanking him, for fighting for liberty. And he's like, "No, thank you." Just a lot of cool stuff. And the French, say what you want about the French, they are still to this day, they are very grateful for that, and they still make a big deal about it every year.
Right.
I know I don't know if this French backlash ended after the Persian Gulf War.
I think that's a thing.
Or they're very grateful for us. Yeah. So thank you again. That's a story that deserves to be told. So all right, everybody, have a great week. One more week of work. We'll see you next week.